So welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander. Today we're taking a look at the African campaign. And this is the Designer Signature 2nd Edition, now with mounted mapboard, from Compass Games. So this is a two-player, kind of larger strategic game on the North African campaign in World War II. You can play this solitaire if you were so inclined, but this is a two-player game. One of you is Rommel, the Afrika Korps, and the Italians. One of you is Alexander and Monty and all that, British 8th Army, and it's moving back and forth, trying to take all the key objectives that you need to. So this game's been around for a while. I think the original games it was from a number of years ago. Then it got a DSE. Now it's got a 2nd edition DSE, if my understanding of it is correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to crack this open. So rule book we have here. In theory, this should be an extremely tight rule book because it's had a number of revisions to it. And so the rules, those are historical notes. You're looking at 12 pages of rules for a nice hex encounter war game. This is, especially for Compass, there's a lot of nice, good diagrams, full color. That's a very, very good sign. Looks like we get a single D6 in here. And then we will move these off because there's two mounted map boards. And you see these are kind of smaller square in profile. We'll take a look at those here because it's kind of a longer, thinner map, as you kind of might expect to accommodate the North African theatre. So we have two play aids. Oh, there's a tiny bit of errata, it looks like. So, two play aids. These are dual-sided. So one of them's optional events and optional event chits. So if you're playing with those, you've got them on the back. If not, you've just got your regular CRT, terrain effects chart, and then your infantry and fuel table, your replacements for the Axis down there. So those seem to be very clear, not too much practice. So this tiny little line, combat engineer, play before allied players enter minefield hex to immediately treat it as having no effect. Okay. I wonder if that's combat engineers. Play before entering minefield hex, treat minefield as no effect. I think that's just a slightly better explanation, but I mean, I don't know if I was ever going to get that confused. So that's just clarification. Frankly, not a piece of real errata. So then we have the OOBs. So we have the Allied OOB. So we have your at-start units. And then these are all your reinforcements. And as you can see, that's not very many units. And then over here, we have our at-start units. And I presume we've got our green for our Italian ones. And our kind of a slightly lighter green or a grey for for the German ones down here. But that's one of the things that really drew me to this game. I wanted to pick it up. First, it's been around for a while and had a number of editions, so you know it's probably going to be one of the best qualities that it's going to have been. But also, this is a single counter sheet. So I'm hoping that this is also a great entry point for people where you can play a game that has some traditional hex and counter stuff with your terrain effects, combat ratios, odds, and rolling on a CRT. All that stuff that we know and love, but it's not something that's overwhelming. And generally speaking, North Africa games are usually fairly dynamic with all the movements and stuff. So on top of that, it's also usually something that's very interesting to people who might be kind of first diving into this. But I'm always interested in a game that plays quickly, in both the pace sense of it, but also in the time length that it takes to play to it. And they say the average play time for this is 3 to 4 hours, which would be really, really cool if we could kind of get that down to that time frame. So the last thing, what I will say is, I'm just going to punch a couple of these. These are on extremely thick grey core counters, and everything looks really great on them. But these are like the thickest counters I think I've ever seen in a war game from Compass, so that's a nice boon. But yeah, they're very clear. They're slightly larger than some of the tiny ones that you get from other companies, but the numbers on them are very bold, No mistaking what's what. Some of them have a reverse side to them. And then the last thing that we'll take a look at, what I will say is you need the deluxe counter rounder from Oregon to clip these. These are too thick to fit in my kind of normal, the one that's really heavy, that you slide the counters into. You need the one that has like the tray on top to clip them. So just know that. I've learned that the hard way with some games. So let's take a quick gander at the maps that fold out. So these are, I think they're 11 by 34. If you were to put two of them together, no. They're 22 by 11. Is that right? 22 by 17. 22 by 17. You know what? It probably says on the back, and I should stop guessing. 22 by 17, is that what we're saying? It doesn't call out the size. So, I think normally, if you were to put these together, what I'm trying to say is, this is pretty close to 22 by 34. If not, that's exactly the dimensions. However, they've cut it in two, because these have to go lengthways, horizontally. So I believe we've got this here. So this is the map. And my table is, I think, well, I should be able to know. I think it's like 5 feet maybe. And this is, I've still got a good, probably 3 or 4 inches on either side of it as well. So this will fit on most tables. I'd be surprised if it didn't fit on your table. These need to be flattened out, but then you just kind of line them up. But as you can see, a lot of desert that you might expect as well. So we've got an Axis fuel track. The CRT that's on the play aid is also printed on this side of the map, as is this Axis infantry replacement table down here, as is this terrain effects chart over here as well. We have our turn record track over here. So the game, so you've got 2 turns in each month, it looks like. December, January, February, March, April, May, and you've got turn 1 and 2 in each of those. It also probably shows who has the initiative and or some air power values, who's got what. I presume these are allied replacement points because the Axis has this chart they need to roll on. That's just a guess though. But the hexes are very large. They're going to fit those counters in nicely, which I've put away. Here, let's just get a couple out. But yeah, they fit in great, and you can still see the hex numbers on them. They're not covering them up because the hexes are so big. But this is going to be what you would expect from a game like this. Germans and Italians are going to be starting over here, have to try and take Benghazi, go all the way through, and then it'll be fighting them back, and then maybe counterattacks back and forth depending on swings in the initiative and force build-ups and things like that. But that's what we're looking at with this game. I enjoy a good North Africa game. This one has, you know, I think there's the Russian campaign is another one in this series that's been around a while. It's got a good reputation, and I got it on a great price from Noble Knight Games, and so you can always check it out there if that's something you're interested in. But that's where I bought this from, and I'm very excited to try this. I just enjoy North Africa games. I'm having kind of a moment with them, and so I'm very excited to play this. Designed by John Edwards, put out by Compass Games. Check it out if it's something you're interested in. I appreciate you very much for tuning in. There'll be more of this coming. But I've been Alexander from PlayersAid.com.